Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Denis Gianoutsos. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos.
Hey, welcome to the show, Leadership is Changing. What we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Leaders everywhere confront similar obstacles because people are people, but everywhere you go, leaders are overwhelmed, disrupted, and under pressure. They run from email to email, meeting to meeting. Many leaders aren't changing quick enough, which means they run the risk of becoming irrelevant and being left behind. The purpose of the show is taking our listeners' leadership to another level by finding their balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. I believe we don't have enough effective leaders in the world today, and if we can get the leaders to step up and lead change, then they can inspire real change. It is now time to adapt in a fast-moving world. And listeners, hey, I want to welcome you to this episode of Ask Denis, which is a freestyle episode. And I'm asked questions by our listeners, and I share my thoughts, insights, and experiences from working with many leaders globally. Team, I just want you to let you know to check out the Facebook group Leadership is Changing that is set to launch on Facebook, and check that out and feel free to join the group whereby we will be sharing a lot of discussions and so forth around leadership is changing. Hey, this week I've got a question that's come through. Actually, it's come through from a couple of people that I've been working with and coaching one-on-one. And it comes down to the fact, does an executive need to be digital savvy in today's world? Does an executive need to be digital savvy in today's world? Well, what I'll say is this. I think executives need to be both digital savvy and active in the digital world. So according to the Institutes of Directors and Executive Search Companies, they're saying yes to both those things, digital savvy and digital active. And if you're not, what they're saying is that you'll be left behind as an executive and a leader. So savvy. Understand what is available in the digital space. So it's really important for us to understand what is available. In other words, what medium or what kind of digital areas that are available to executives and leaders in their businesses to help them grow and be able to have a global footprint by using the virtual world. You see, what we're finding is that we've been forced into the virtual world, of course, with the pandemics and people working from home. And so a lot of people now are having to become a lot better in the virtual world and work in the virtual world, whereby they weren't having to do that as much beforehand. Be aware of what your industry and market needs in the digital space as well, because you see, you may have a business that is bricks and mortar and offering services, products, and things like that. But for some of you, you need to now start to adapt and be a lot more digital savvy and active in the digital world. So let's understand how it works. See, it's important for you and your organization to have a footprint that's both online and offline. So both online and offline. Now, what do we mean by online and what do we mean by offline? This is what I also say to a lot of people about networking. If you can network both online and offline, then that's a great thing to do. See, networking is really important. If you can do it online, in other words, things like LinkedIn, email, things like that, to then bring people offline to meet them face-to-face for a coffee or a meeting, or even have a Zoom or a Teams or a Skype kind of meeting with them, I still class that as offline as well. In other words, I'm taking them from a large platform, whereas like social media, networking, my website, things like that, and bringing them to have a one-on-one session with me, that's what I called offline. So be aware of what's available out there. You see, your online presence is going to be really important for you as an executive and a leader. You see, you want to build your brand. So your brand. So for me, it's DG, Denis Gianoutsos Incorporated is my brand as an individual. But then I have a company called Leading Change Partners. And that's whereby I have myself and then others who we can partner with to help organizations going forward. Within that, I have different products and brands and things like that. One of them is this podcast called Leadership is Changing. And so this podcast is a way for me to have an online presence and show the world that I'm an authority in the market that I work with or work in. So for you as an executive, a leader, thinking about the future, it's important for you to build your brand and both online and offline. The digital world is really, really important. Why? Because here I am in a country, but right now I have reach, access, and footprint globally because of the virtual world. And if you can use the digital world, the virtual world to help you grow your business and have a bigger, longer, more far reach out to people, that is going to be awesome because your market is just growing huge. And when I say huge, I'm talking about it's gone big if you've got a digital sort of presence and so forth, if you're digital savvy and active as well. Now, when I talk about being active, what do we mean by that? Well, the number one thing for you to have an online presence and to become an authority in the market today is that you need to add value. And so one area could be content. And when we talk about content, what do we mean by that? Also, how much time do you need to dedicate to be active in the digital world? And so here we go. Number one, around the duration or the time that you need to do and the time that's spent in having this brand and becoming an authority in the market in the digital space. Well, I tell you what, it's not 5 minutes every day, but it's not every minute of each day either. I think what you need to do is you need to do what's right for you and what your market is needing. And you see, sometimes less is more. If you go out there and bombard the market with a whole lot of stuff that is not of value, you will turn people off. If you can add value, that is going to be the biggest thing that you can do today. And when we say add value, what do we mean by that? The duration, the time, the amount of time that you work online, plus the value, the content, things like that you add, whatever you do, please make sure that you are consistent. Make sure you're consistent all the time because consistency is what people are looking for. If you start, stop, you're not going to get any momentum. If you start, stop, you're not going to get any traction. Now, for a lot of people, they give a few things, give it a go, see how it is, what I call poke it with a stick, and they give it a go and just see what happens. And then they don't get any results. Well, it's results that they're thinking that they should get. And I tell you what, team, it takes time to build your brand, build your presence online. Not only takes time, but there's a way of actually doing it. And if you don't know what to do, feel free to reach out to me anytime because I'm more than happy to work with you to help you show you what you need to do. Now, from an active world, what's really important is here are some things that you could do from an active world. Now, one thing you can do is by adding value by writing articles. Now, you could write an article once a month. So if you did that 12 for 12 months, that's a year, there's 12 articles. If you did every 2 weeks, there's 24 articles. But if you did it once a month, that'd be pretty cool. The other thing you could do is that you could actually write a blog. Now, what's the difference between an article and a blog? Well, it's the number of words, really. It's the length of it. And so you could do that. The other one could be vlogs. And so what are vlogs? They're a bit like blogs. In other words, there's something that you're talking about, but you can do it through video. Nowadays, on social media, we have things like Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, and you can use tools to help you do that and get your message out there all the time. So about going on 3.5 to 4 months ago, I started to do what we call Facebook Live and YouTube Live and putting it onto LinkedIn as well on a daily basis, except for the Sunday. And so the reason I'm doing it on a daily basis, except for the Sunday, is because for me, one of my reach outs in the world is the US market. And the US market, or in the Americas and that, of course, my Saturday is their Friday. And so I still tend to do those kind of Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives every Saturday, my time. And so by doing that, what happens is that every single day I'm being consistent. Don't miss a day, just be consistent all the time. Don't always do the same time frame, but it's more or less around the same time from 6 a.m. in the morning, my time, through to 9 a.m. my time. So it's always around that kind of time frame, depending on what kind of meetings, events, and things that I'm doing. Now, the thing here is this. When I first started doing that, I've got to be honest, the first week I found it very awkward and I didn't feel comfortable at all. And a lot of people said to me, what do you mean you didn't feel comfortable? Well, I found it very hard. But they go, Dennis, you do executive coaching, you do facilitation, you do speaking. What do you mean you found it hard? Well, I didn't have an audience there in front of me. I didn't have anyone to bounce things off. Then at times I was doing things and I was thinking to myself, wow. And so I just got on with it. And I got on with it and doing it. And then the more and more I did it, the more and more I became comfortable. And right now, I feel like a kid in a candy store. I'm so excited about doing that. But it's also raising my authority brand in the marketplace online, which is really fantastic. So if you can do that, that's great. Another one that I've gone and done, as you can see right or hear right now, is this podcast, right? So the podcast is an example. But team, it is a big commitment. But, most people don't even get past episode 7. And so, it is a big commitment in what you do in this space. But whatever you do, make sure you are consistent. So people who are mentoring me in the actual podcasting and in that world have always said to me, make sure that you are consistent. So Dennis, if you're going to do 2 interviews per week, do 2 interviews per week. And if you're going to do a freestyle session as well, do a freestyle session. Make sure you get it done every single week. Be consistent. Why? Because your market, the people following you, they're going to be looking for it. And so you want to stay consistent. You want to stay authentic, true, and stay on point in what you want to do. So let's talk a little bit more about social media, because you see, a lot of people say, do I need to be on there? The other thing they ask is, do I need my own website? Well, it depends on what your business is. But you know what? I have a lot of executives that I work with who actually have their own personal websites presence, a presence online. And it's more about them and about their presence and about who they are and what they've done, but also what they offer. And so it's a online presence that when people go and search for them, they can see it. Now, if people are going to go and search for you online, they in Google and things like that, they will more than likely find you on LinkedIn. Now, in the professional network side of things, LinkedIn is the one that we look at and tend to look at from a professional perspective. Now, Facebook as well is really important. So let's talk about those kind of things in social media, as I said before. So how often do you need to be on there? How often do you need to be posting? And do I have to be on all the platforms? Well, the thing is, you only need to be on the platforms that you think is right for you. Because team, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of things that people think they need to do around the social media and around the digital space. Do what's right for you. Now, the thing here is with Facebook and LinkedIn, I think, LinkedIn is really quite cool to use. And as I said, people will look for you. Make sure you've got your LinkedIn profile and you've got it right. Try and get to over 500 contacts as quickly as you can, because then it shows on there that you've got 500 plus. They don't actually show you the number after you get to 500. Try and look for those kind of people. Try and build your network as quickly as you can. Make sure you've got a professional photo. Not a photo whereby you look like you're at a party or a barbecue. Make sure you've got a photo that's a great headshot that you can put on LinkedIn that is professional and shows your branding. The other thing I say to people here is this. If you've written articles, you've got videos of you speaking or certain things, blogs and all that sort of stuff, put those up onto LinkedIn into your profile, because you can attach those. Do that, because that's where people can get to know you a little bit more. If you've got an article, you can actually go and put that online, but also you can actually post it in LinkedIn. I will post it as everywhere you can and actually have things linked to your website as well, just to help things move if people want to find out a little bit more about you. Now, here's the other thing that when I talk to people, they say to me, oh, so how much do I need to do on LinkedIn or other social media platforms? Well, as I said before, do what would make sense for you. But you know what? Just sitting there and looking at things and clicking like, well, anyone can do that. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is how you can add value to your followers. Now, you may not have written an article or you may not have done some posts, but you know of others who have. And what you can do is you can take their posts and reshare it and also add some wording around that post to put your perspective on things, to add value from you to help things as well, because people will actually look at that and go, wow. The other thing too is, one thing I would look at is actually joining LinkedIn groups. So depending on what industry you're in, depending on what market you're in, depending on what companies you're looking at working for and things like that, what are the groups that you need to be part of on LinkedIn? And then what I would do is I would join those groups and I would go in and hit the like and add value and comments and so forth to other people's posts. So then what they do is they start to sit up and take notice of you. They're going to start saying, whoa, who's this person? Wow, they're adding some really good value here. So what actually happens there is that people start to get to know you and the value that you can add. Now, Facebook, what about that profile and things like that? Yeah, if you've got a profile, that's good. Executives and leaders do have Facebook profiles as well. Businesses, a lot of it's done on LinkedIn, but it's been done on Facebook as well, and people are doing very well in the Facebook area and even got Facebook groups. So check out what is the right platform for you. You may need to be on multiple platforms, but the important thing here is whatever the platform is, whatever you're going to add, what value you're going to add, always make sure it's consistent and that it's going out there. What I even went and did is I went and actually got some branding done. I actually got some branding done for me. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and do that, but also think about what is your branding. So I even got the look and feel done for me by some designers. So, you can look at my coloring in that in relation to my logos. The DG brand has got the blue, white, and gold. The Leadership is Changing is the blue, white, and it's actually got the gold there too. And then if you look at Leading Change Partners, blue, white, and gold as well. So that theme of that coloring is going through just about all of the different logos, products, branding, and things like that, right? So if that makes sense for you, then do it. But whatever it is, just give it a go. So the important thing here is that for some of you, you might be quite scared of this, or you might be a little bit unsure what to do. What I'm going to say to you is this. Get out there and get things done, because if you get out there and get it done and start getting underway with things, even though it feels uncomfortable for you, what that will mean for you is that you'll start getting more and more comfortable. You'll learn from it. You'll understand what your audience is needing. Because you see, if you've got a microphone and a camera, it gets very powerful. You can get your messaging out there. You don't need to be on a radio station. You don't even need to be in a TV station, because you can do this now yourself through the social media platforms that we have, which is brilliant to see. As I said before, there's a lot of noise out there. And if you're not sure on what you should be doing, hey, feel free to reach out to me and we can do a strategy session or thought leadership and bring some of that kind of thinking together for you to see where you want to go. So the question is today is, as an executive, do I need to be in the digital world? Do I need to be digital savvy? And so the answer was, yes, you need to be both digital savvy and active in the digital world. So that's one thing. The second thing is get clear on your messaging, and understand what your niche is, understand what your messaging is and what you want to get out there. Add value to people all the time. Put out there good quality content. Don't get me wrong. It does not need to be perfect. Just get things out there so then people can listen to what you're saying, read what you're thinking, just what you're writing. Really important just to get things out there. You will find your leadership voice as you work through a lot of this, right? So you'll find your leadership voice as you work through a lot of this by getting out there and being digital savvy. It's a bit like you're finding your stride in leadership in your role that you may be doing in your business as an entrepreneur, whatever that is, you can find your stride. It's the same thing with your voice. You can find your leadership voice by going through out there and delivering and adding value to your audience all the time. Make sure you've got those professional profiles set up and everything is good. You know what, team? Become the authority. Get good at things, so good at things, really good at things, so then the market can't ignore you. In fact, become world-class in what you do so the market cannot ignore you. Because you see, if you're out there being digital savvy and active in the digital world, the thing that's going to do for you is raise your profile. So when people are looking for top talent, when people are looking for high performers, when people are looking for their next leader, they can find you. If they're out there looking to build their business, if they're out there looking to partner with somebody, then that's where it's going to help, by you being digital savvy and active. It does take time. There is no magic pill to help you to say, ta-da, congratulations, you now have a huge profile or an effective profile online that makes you now an authority in the market. So team, go out there, be digital savvy and active in the digital world, and do what you need to do to help you become an authority in the market. Hey team, I just want to say to you, thanks for joining on the call today on the Ask Denis episode, which is a freestyle episode. Now, the thing I want to say to you is just look out for the launch of the Facebook group called Leadership is Changing, coming real soon to you. So just check that out, and that would be really quite cool as well. So really, really important. Hey, the other thing I'm going to say to you is that if there's anything I can do to help you, to reach out to me anytime, feel free to do that. Just send me an email, dennis@leadingchangepartners.com. That'll be in the show notes. But also, if you want to reach out to me on social media and just send me a private message, I've been getting some great messaging from people about how these podcasts are really helping them, but also spending some time with me and how that's giving them some real clarity and so forth and where they want to go. Hey team, thanks for joining me today. What we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Change is incredibly scary, especially with the unknown and the unfamiliar territory. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing. Look out for the episodes as they're being released. Download them, listen to them, add reviews, comments, and ratings. If there's any feedback you'd like to give me, or if there's any questions you'd like to ask for me to ask my guests, or even here on the Ask Denis episode, feel free to send me an email. As I said before, dennis@leadingchangepartners.com. Hey team, thanks for joining in and tuning into this episode. We look forward to talking to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.